Hi, grade 10. Welcome back. Here we are again with North Star Unit 1. And this time we're focusing on reading and writing. And we're gonna start with the unit topic, which is sports and obsession. Okay, so you guys must play a sport. If you don't, it would be the physical education at school, right? Are you obsessed about it or not? Are you one of those people that goes to the gym and has to go and cannot go without? Now, let's look at the three questions here. The first one, can you name the sport this person is doing and how do you think he feels about the sport? Let's take a look. Okay, what kind of sport is this? Exactly, it's surfing, right? Something very, very obvious and also very known here in Bali, right? Okay, number two, what kind of person participates in this type of sport? Would you happen to know what kind of person would do that? Anyone could do that, right? Definitely someone who also has some guts, who is not afraid of accidents. Number three, how are extreme sports different from non-extreme sports? So thinking about extreme sports as being a bit on the edge, dangerous, it takes in a lot of challenge, and a non-extreme sport would just be a safer sport to play. Okay, that is what we're going to talk about, read about, and write about sports and obsession. Let's go to the first part, which is reading one, and this video will only cover reading one for today. Yeah, same thing as for the listening. I'll give you some information and then you can pause the video to do the exercise. Vocabulary. Read the information about rock climbing, then circle the definition that best matches the meaning of each bold-faced word or phrase. In the listening video of listening 1, I already explained to you what bold-faced means. Yeah, those are the words that are the blacker ones and they're standing out and very clear to see. In this case, the bold-faced words are challenge. Number 2, we've got daring. Number 3, inspires. Number 4, focused. Number 5, impressive. 6, risk. 7, do or die. Ooh. Number 8, obsession. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to pause your video and you're going to circle the definition that fits the best with challenge. And then you look at number 1 is done for you. Something difficult would be something that has a challenge. Okay, go ahead. And there we are. I mentioned only until 8, but there was until 10, right? We had willingness and unthinkable in it as well. Okay, great job. We continue with the preview. Okay, as has been explained in the listening video already before, previewing is what we do to predict. We predict what type of text it is, and we will predict the topic and the purpose. Now, there are many different types of texts, okay? Many different types, such as we have an article, we have a letter, we have a report, we have an essay, we have a journal entry. There are a lot of different types of texts. Now, when you preview, you predict. You predict what type of text it is, and then from there you predict the purpose of the text. And the reason why we do that is because it helps us better understand what we're going to read, and therefore it is easier for us to understand the text. Predicting and previewing in it is very important. Now, if you look here at the part of preview, it says you're going to read an interview with Travis Binns, the young leader of an international rock climbing club. Before you read, Write down 3 questions that you think the interviewer will ask Trevor Prince about his sports in his life. Now, if you think about this, an interview with a young leader of an international rock climbing club, so he must be great at doing that sport. Now, what are some things that you think will be asked, questions that will be asked, things that will be mentioned? I give you a little bit of time to write that down. Go ahead. Okay, great. I wonder what you wrote down as a prediction of what it will be about. Okay, now to continue, I'm going to turn on the audio and you can read along while you're listening to the text of an interview with Travis Binns.
An interview with Travis Binns. Let's start with the sport of rock climbing. How did you get interested in this?
It all started when my aunt got married at Joshua Tree National Park. That's in Southern California in the Mojave Desert. She and her groom climbed a rock and exchanged their vows up there. The rest of us stood there watching them as the sun came up. I was only about 5, but I thought it was very cool. That really impressed me.
Is that what inspired you to start rock climbing yourself?
Yes, but I got even more inspired while watching a video of Alex Honnold doing his solo routine. I saw Alex out there in nature, all by himself. He was able to do the unthinkable.
Can we continue? I go to the next page.
What do you mean by solo routine?
Well, to free solo is to go out there without a rope or any gear. It's basically you and your hands and feet. This goes way beyond daring into a whole new area of risk.
You climb with your hands and feet? That's it?
And your incredibly focused mind. Alex is a great example of that. People ask him if he does it for the adrenaline rush, and he says no. To him, a rush is a sign of something wrong. When the climb's going right, it's slow and controlled. You're enjoying the beautiful day.
Is Alex Honnold the one who climbed Half Dome in a little under 3 hours without a rope?
That's the one. He's able to take big chances while staying calm. When he climbs a rock, he's thousands of feet up there with nothing to catch him if he falls. I guess it takes a real obsession to make the most of a talent like his.
It probably does. Speaking of Half Dome in Yosemite, that's 2,000 feet. Is that one of the places you'll be going with the club?
Most likely, yes. So far, we've attracted people from 6 different countries, and they all want to check out Yosemite. It's probably one of the most impressive places for doing anything outdoors.
And you'll be climbing with ropes, the usual gear?
Of course. We're not part of that tiny group of rock climbers who free solo. I think the number of free solo climbers is less than 1%, something like that. Most of us don't have that do-or-die attitude.
That obsession, you could say.
And that willingness to take a risk. One wrong move, and that's it. No second chances. And one of the hardest things about climbing without a rope is staying in control of your fear. You're in a situation where fear can come up in 1 second, complete and total fear. You've got to stay in control. Alex learned to control his fear in a gym, training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. He trained hard for the risk of free solo climbing.
Which brings up an interesting question. Is a person selfish to take that kind of risk? Aren't there people who would say to Honnold, "What you're doing is crazy. You'd better quit now while you can"?
I don't know. In Honnold's case, he's a single guy driving around in a van, living a free life. No wife or kids to be responsible for. I think he lives on $1,000 a month. He doesn't need much but the rocks and fresh air.
But he's young enough to have parents, right? What about them?
I'm sure they've had their moments of worry, but at the same time, I think they probably raised him to value his freedom. I'm sure they taught him to be super independent. Alex quit a great school, UC Berkeley, so that he could keep climbing up rocks with his bare hands. I think he's done something like 1,000 free solo climbs. Crazy.
Or obsessed, you might say.
Yes, and inspirational. People like Alex make us all try harder to push our limits. I heard him say once that he's always pushing himself and that he's always looking to do something bigger.
Is that why his friends call him Alex No Big Deal?
Actually, I think that's because he's always saying he's not that great at rock climbing. Maybe he's comparing himself to some idea of the perfect climber. I don't know. Anyways, rock climbing's a great sport, and a lot of us really enjoy the challenge of it.
That's right. Good luck with your club.
Thanks. You can check the website for more details.
Okay, that was a very long interview. As you read along, I'd like to know, when you look again at the preview on page 5, whether the questions that you formulated, help you understand the interview. So the points that you wrote on page 5, number 1, 2, and 3, do you think that it related to what you just read and heard? Okay, so previewing therefore is important because it helps us to get a focus, yeah? You might say, what's the point of it? Well, the point is that you're helping your brain to focus on what is going to come, and therefore it is easier for you to pick up all the facts, yeah? If, for example, you straight away go into reading, you probably halfway through don't remember what you were reading, and you would have to repeat it. So by thinking about predicting, hey, what type of text is this? Okay, clearly this is an interview. And then you think about what is the topic. Now the topic is rock climbing, right? This guy is a leader of a rock climbing club. And then the purpose is probably to inform, and it gives you a direction on what to listen for. Cool beans. Now we continue with number 2. Write a T for true and an F for false for each statement. Okay, there are 6 statements that are related to the text. Rewrite the false statements to make them true. So for 1 until 6, write down a T or an F, and please correct the ones that are wrong. You can pause the video. Awesome. We continue with details. Details, you already know, are more specific facts or factors about something. We use details to develop a main point, and we use main points to develop a main idea or a general topic that we have. Now, details can be names of people, places, things. They're more the specifics about a certain topic. Write one sentence answers to the questions, then compare answers. Now, in this case, we're not sitting with a friend, that's so sad, but you can write down answers, but in a short form, short sentences. For instance, what impressed Bins as a child? Now, those details and facts are in the text. You would have to go through the text to find that. Now, in the listening video, I told you about annotating. Remember? Annotating when you underline, you circle, or you highlight keywords in a sentence. Those are the most important words that bring meaning to the sentence. Now, in this sentence, number one, the keywords are impressed, Bin's, child. So you have to look through the text to find where it is about Bin's being a child and being impressed. In order to do that, you will scan through the text. Scanning means that you're going over the text really fast. Basically, you're not reading it one by one, but you're like scanning through it really fast. Basically, you're looking over the text to find a specific keyword that will help you to find the place where probably your answer to the question lies. And especially for scanning, of course, you probably go from the beginning, scan through until you find the place where it shows you that it's about Bins being a child, and then you can see what impressed him. That's why annotating is so important. Yes, people. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time to annotate the keywords in the questions number 1 until 8. You can pause your video now. Okay, great. So now you are going to answer questions 1 until 8 in a very short sentence. Good luck. Try to scan, go over the text to find the keywords that you have just underlined, circled, or highlighted. Good luck. Okay, now we're going to continue with the next part, which is making inferences. As you have seen by now that making inferences is a specific part in the reading and writing book, but also in the listening and speaking. Making inferences is super important because that is when you are learning to think critically. You are learning to analyze context. Now, you need to do that in a text when you read. You also need to do that when you're listening to people talk. Inferences are also important because it helps you to grasp the underlying meaning, and sometimes that is called the implied meaning of the context, whether that is written or spoken. That brings us to a part which in Indonesia we hear a lot now, HOTS, like the higher order thinking skills. That is referring to analytical and critical thinking, which we enable by making inferences. Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, so we continue. In this part, we're looking at inferring certainty. Now, certainty means how certain, how sure you are. Are you really sure? Are you very sure? Are you not so sure? There are levels in certainty. If, for instance, if I ask you, hey, are you going to be in class tomorrow? And you would say to me like, oh yeah, well, I think so, I guess. Then you're not so certain. Yeah, but if you say, definitely, I'll be there, I know that you'll be there because you're very certain. So there are levels in certainty. An inference is an educated guess, means you're guessing about something that is not directly stated in the text. A strong reader can infer how much certainty is expressed in an interview. Just now you could hear that also. Look at the example and read the explanation. I guess it takes a real obsession to make the most of a talent like his. How certain is the speaker? A. very certain, B, somewhat certain. What do you think? In this case, the answer is B. Why is that? Because the person uses the words I think, I guess, probably, most likely. Yeah, when reading an interview, we can infer certainty by looking for words and phrases. I think, I guess, probably, most likely, and maybe, or something like that. All of these indicate that the speaker is only somewhat certain, but not really certain about what he or she is saying. When a speaker makes a statement without these words or phrases, we can know that he or she is more certain. They wouldn't say, I guess. If I would say, it takes a real obsession to make the most of a talent like his, that sounds more certain. Yeah? Sometimes a speaker uses short statements to emphasize that he or she is very certain. For example, most of us don't have that willingness to take a risk. Something like that. One wrong move and that's it. No second chances. That's very certain, right? Yeah. The two underlined statements are short, and from these short statements, we can infer that the speaker is very certain of what is being said. So a way to be not so certain is to say, I think, something like that, most likely, maybe. But to be more certain is by using short statements. Of course, definitely, we will do it. Yeah, those are shorter sentences and show more certainty. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to read each statement, that is number 1 until 6, and you're going to choose the best answer that indicates, that shows how certain the speaker is. For instance, number 1, I think the number of free solo climbers is less than 1%. Something like that. Is that very certain or not so certain? What do you think? Yeah, of course, B, not so certain. And the reason why is because it says I think and something like that. Okay, now it's your try, number 2 until 6. You can pause the video and answer it. Go ahead. Great. You have answered all 6, and we're going to discuss that in our next Zoom meeting. Every practice activity that you have answered will be discussed through our Zoom meeting at school, and you then can ask me also very effective questions about the material that you don't understand yet. Okay, cool. Now, the next part is expressing opinions. Expressing opinions we also did in the listening. And why is that a component? Because it is important for you to learn to reason. Reasoning is important. Knowing whether you agree with something or not, what your mind is on it, what your viewpoint is, and then also being able to give reasons why you have that opinion. Yeah, so here basically it says choose one of the questions, discuss your ideas, and choose one person in your group to report the ideas to the class. Such a pity we are not at school, right? So we can't really do that. But I would like you to pick one and just write down your opinion about it and why you have that opinion. For instance, number 1, why do you think of Alex Handel's ability to enjoy the beautiful day while doing a free solo climb? How would you feel? Or number 2, do you agree that people who choose to take physical risks are selfish? Or number 3, what do you think of Alex Honnold's decision to drop out of UC Berkeley and focus on rock climbing? Will he regret this decision? Pick one, write down what you think of it, and give a few reasons why you think that. Great. Okay, we have come to the end of this reading 1 session. And so, as we have learned today, and our focus of our lesson was on our vocabulary, learning to see different types and learning new words. And we have gone over the previewing part Understanding that previewing is important to predict the type of text, and knowing the topic and therefore predicting the purpose of the text, which gives us focus, what to read for. Exactly. And last but not least, also what we talked about was that you have to annotate, underline, circle, or highlight the keywords if you want to answer questions. You annotate the questions and also the answer choices. Whatever is the text, you annotate it. Then we talked a little bit about scanning to go back to the text. When you scan, which means just looking over the text, not really reading it, looking for keywords that are connected to the keywords that you have already annotated in the question. And that's how you find the answers. Yeah. And last, we talked about making inferences, knowing certainty and less certainty. We get less certainty by saying phrases like I think, I guess, probably, maybe, and we can create more certainty in our text when we use short statements. Very good. It was an awesome time with you, and I'll see you very soon. God bless you. Bye.